Alright, so now we can start working on the radio face and the buttons here. Now these are going to be done differently. If you remember on this guy, in order to get the texture in the right spot, we had to do a planar projection to get that texture in the right spot. Okay, planar mapping to get that on there. Well, over here we have a mix of NURBs and we have a mixture of polygons as well. And the create UVs only works on polygons. Okay, and NURBs are kind of placed in a different method. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a different method to kind of handle all this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all the stuff over here. Come on. Let me hide everything first. It'll be easier to grab it this way. Lights, base, shift, AC vents, storage layer, perfect. Okay. So right now I have all the stuff that applies to the radio face minus this stuff here. Okay. That's actually part of the base layer stuff. Alright, so what I'm going to do in this plane back here. Same thing with the AC controls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, we'll start off with the AC controls, is I'm going to grab all this stuff and then shift, deselect all the stuff that's not part of that texture that I'm going to be putting on there. Okay, so all that stuff that I have right there. Then I'm going to go to lighting and shading, assign favorite Mia, radio face Mia. And then what I'm going to do is go to the map button here. And just so you can see what's going to happen, a file, okay, that I bring in here, if I click on the 2D textures, a file that I bring in and a ramp that I bring in are essentially the same kind of thing. A ramp is just a gradient that's inside there. So if I click on ramp, you can see how this ramp is kind of placed differently on all of these kinds of things. What I want is one ramp to start here and go straight up to the top and not intersect any of that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to click on the map. I'm going to not click on file, but I'm going to right click on file and say as projection. Create texture as projection. Okay, now it turns black, that's fine. And you see here I get to pick what kind of projection that I'm using. So what I'm going to do is I can pick from this list, I can pick planar. And if I go to my image here, oops, the image here, there's no image, that's why it's black, because there's no image. I can go down to color balance, and no, I can't. I thought I could just change that, but I can't. Doesn't matter. I'm going to need to bring in another a file. So for now, I'm just going to go to Photoshop, and just for fun, I'm just going to click on this. I'll make a 1024 by 1024 texture. That's fine. And I'm going to one of these things here. Nope. There you go, wrong spot. View, show, grid. There we go. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a new layer, go to my marquee tool, make sure it's square marquee. There we go. And make sure I'm snapping to this, and it looks like I am. I'm just going to make a black checkerboard, scoot it over, make a white checkerboard. I believe that filled it. Scoot it over, make a black one, scoot it over, make a white one, scoot it over. I'm just hitting Alt backspace to fill the foreground color and Control backspace to fill the background color. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is grab that whole row, and I'm just going to use Alt and Control and drag it down and just offset it. And then drag it down again, and then offset it. Okay, and then I can drag the whole thing and offset it again. That. And then offset it again. I'm kind of overlapping it now just to kind of cover up the ones that I don't have yet. Doesn't have to be perfect. I just wanted to, oops. There we go. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to make sure that I have just like some sort of checkerboardy pattern. There we go, something like that. Okay, like I said, doesn't have to be perfect. I can turn the grid off now. Show grid off. There we go. Now we have some kind of checkerboard. You can see there's some are messed up. I don't care. This is just kind of like a placeholder. And then I'm just going to add a gradient underneath it. Up here, I can just choose that. I don't care. Just something with color. Okay. Then I'm going to take this layer 1 and just make it a multiply. And then you'll see that we get these orange to purpley thing there. That's fine. So I'm just going to save this in my source images as a ping gradient placeholder. There we go. And so now when I come in here and I pick that gradient placeholder, I can see, okay, it's not placed correctly. Well, if I go to my projection, I told it to be planar, but I never really set up where that planar is. It could be, in Timbuktu. That's what this guy's for, this place 3D texture. So if I click on the select down here and move this up, you'll see that I have a little planar node. And this bottom right corner that's kind of different, an alarm, this bottom right corner that's different actually is the bottom left of my image. So I need to make sure that's turned around. So 180-degree rotation there. And then I'm just going to go to my front view, back view, and I'm just going to size this up to fit. Okay, so it looks like it fits pretty good. Okay, so now that's my texture that's on there. But if you look at it in render view, and not here, because I hid my lights, because I turned my lights off there. If we take a look at this in render view, you'll see that some of my boxes are not square. They're actually rectangles now. Okay, and I need them to be square. So I'm just going to scale this vertically until they become square. And if you look at it, this box basically should be square in order for that to be square. So if I just make sure that my scales here are all the same, in this case 5.6, perfect, lines up great. Okay, so now what I need to do is I need to go into Photoshop, make my texture for that, and then bring it back in. Well, the easy way to do this is to go to my front view, or back view in this case, hit the blue circle, and fill this as much as I can with my image. That's as close as I can get. So I'm going to use my render, and this should fill the view pretty much with that radio face. I can still see where the buttons are, which is obviously an important thing to be able to see. I can see where these types of things are, where those are. If I didn't, then I could obviously adjust some of the characteristics. Okay, so I'm going to go and save this image, and I'm just going to save it as an if is fine. I'll call this radio face save. So now I can just go and open that in Photoshop. It's inside my images folder. I'm just going to copy it. I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to resize this to that. Okay, I'm not going any further than what this is at, because if I try to stretch it vertically, then when I bring my texture in, it's going to stretch the texture. So I just scale it until it fits the edges, and then everything should be hunky-dory. Okay, because this essentially is that canvas that we're working in Photoshop is a square, and that's what we're painting on. Okay, so now what we can do is just go crazy. So I'm going to first adjust the coloring on this. So image, adjustments, exposure, and I'm just going to do a gamma correct of 2.2 on this layer just so I can see it better. There it is. And see the texture doesn't match perfectly. I could adjust that, but I'll just adjust it inside of Maya. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is go in here and just create what I want this radio face to look like. So just as an example, all this stuff eventually is going to be gone, and I'm going to create a brand new one that's going to look very, very boring. So if I show you what the boring one's going to look like, this is another one that I did like that. Okay, now this one was a rectangle because it was done in a different way, but this one's going to be square. Okay, so I'm just going to go in here and say text. Let's say 1 tab 2 tab 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Just for fun, we'll just say we have 9 buttons. I'll make that white. I'll hit Control T. I'll scale this up. Okay, let me hide these. I'll make my background color whatever color I think I want the base of that. Oops, the base of this radio face to be. So just for fun, we'll just say just some dark gray color. Okay, something like that. There we go. And then I'll write the word power right here. And I'll write volume also on there. And I can't see it because it's below those layers, so I'll just pull this up. Oops. I'll make sure that those are also white. And this becomes, for the designers in the class, this becomes where you can kind of design what you want this radio interface to look like. And we'll add another enter. We'll center this. And if you want to make Ron mad, you can just pick Comic Sans. Too big of a font. Or you can just not kern anything. That'll make Ron mad also. There you go, something like that. I'll just duplicate this down here. Then we'll just say whatever. Tuning. Setting. Alright, so now I got some stuff there. I can add some other decorations here. Maybe just brush white. And just for fun, I'm just kind of drawing some things inside here. But obviously you want to spend more time to make something look nice. I'm just doing it just for the sake of the lecture. Alright, so I'm going to turn these guys off. I'm just going to save this into my source images as a ping. Radio face label. Go back to Maya. And instead of us using this gradient placeholder, okay, I click on that. I click on the arrow. I click on, oops, wrong one. Click on this arrow. Click on this folder. Grab our radio face label. And you'll see that we're a tiny bit off. Okay, this guy here is a little bit too big, so I can just grab this blue marker and just scale it down slightly until it fits. And then we'll do a little rendering and we'll see how close we are. We may need to adjust some things inside Photoshop or adjust some things inside of Maya. But I think we're doing pretty good with this. I think it's pretty close to what we have inside Photoshop. Okay. You'll notice that the texture in this is not very clean. It looks like it's very kind of like grainy. Alright, when you bring a file into Maya, it actually softens it a little bit. So we're going to turn that softening off. Okay, so I'm going to go to my image. There we go. There it says filter type. I'm going to turn that off. And now we should have, this should be a bit cleaner. There we go. The other thing we can do is if we really saw that this still wasn't fixing it, we could come into Photoshop and make this image size a bit bigger. So maybe 2048. Okay. And because everything is vector, so all my text is vector right now, These arrows aren't, but obviously I wasn't keeping those anyway, so I could adjust them. So I could just redraw the arrows. Or if I saw they were still coming out vectory, maybe something on here under my anti-aliasing could be adjusted to maybe strong or smooth. And that might help adjust some of that coloring as well. Or maybe because I have bold on, just turning this to regular might help it read a little bit better and not so chunky. I'll do that for all of these. Just set this back to regular. And set all these to regular. So now that it's set up and it's in the right position, it's no big deal. We just resave it as a ping, as a radio face. Yes, yes. I had to hit yes and I hit cancel. Radio face, save. Okay, okay. Go back to Maya, reload that file, and then it'll just update. So whatever we want to be on that radio face, we just do it in Photoshop. We can put a picture of a giraffe on there, save it, and bring it back into Maya. So obviously the non-fuzziness or whatever, that bold setting really makes it look kind of blobby. I like that plain setting. Okay, so that's how we're doing this one, and this other one is the same exact thing. Okay, so I'll do the process, just the setup process again, just so you can see it. I have two of these? No, okay. I'm going to marquee this whole thing. I'm going to shift deselect these pieces, or control deselect those pieces that I don't want. I'm going to assign a new Mia. I'm going to click on the map button, click on right click on file and say as projection. Click on the folder. I already have this gradient placeholder, so I can just use that one. And then I'm going to go down here to the bottom where I see this funky little icon. I'm going to click that funky little icon because I know that's my texture placement for this. I can tell because it's adjusting. And I'm just going to scale it up uniformly, also rotate it around 180. That way this funky little knob is on the bottom left of my image. I'm going to switch to my back view, and I'm just going to scale it up until it fits that radio face. Okay? And I can adjust it vertically or whatever, it doesn't matter. Alright, so now that I have that, I'm going to go back to my back view. I'm going to make this as big as I can. Make sure the blue circle's on. There's a lot of green lines and a lot of stuff going on. Let me turn off some of my heads-up display. There we go. So I'm just going to make this as big as I can fit inside this green bar, and then do a rendering. And the reason I do the front view or back view in my case is because it gives you a dead-on image of it. Okay, there's no distortion or anything. Okay, so I'll save the image. AC face. Go into Photoshop. Make a new document. Actually, I can do it right inside here. Open up the AC face. Copy it. Bring it into this. I'm going to paste it above all this stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these pieces here that are all part of the radio, and I'm just going to make a new group from layers. I'm going to call it radio. Okay, that way all the radio stuff is just hidden. Then I can take this guy, Control T, scale it up until it fits in the window, and I see that it's a bit off. Okay, possibly when I was doing it. No, why did it come out? It's odd. Let me Control T and I'll just resize it. There we go. Okay, so that's good. So now I can do the exposure on this. 2.2. And then now it's just a matter of adding these textures. And here's another one just so you can see what the other one is that I created. It's a bit fancier. It has this little dial right here, It has this front to back. It has this thing here. It has that thing there. So obviously I could even just steal these things. Come on. Or I can just go here to duplicate group and drop it into my untitled. There we go. And then shrink it down. And then use these as where I want these things to be placed. You see, this one is just a path that I have set up. Alright, so here's that stroke color that I'd picked, this gradient. And then I have these, and then I can change, obviously, the size of it to get that to look, you know, more like the controls would be. Right? These numbers here, same kind of thing. I just typed on a path. So I can resize those. And then, let's see, front face. And all of these things, oops, not the front to back. There you go. These things here were all hand drawn. Right? So that's it. So you just work on those, and then we'll come back to this.